Thriving Women's mission is to inspire our viewers to thrive, not just survive. Let's take a moment and introduce your Thrive Tribe. Noel Ramos, investment coach from Atlanta, Georgia. Sabrina Protic, author and life coach from Tampa Bay, Florida. Stacy Pesaw, life coach from Palm Harbor, Florida. Gina Marie Casano, transformational coach from Bayville, New York. Dr. Lita J. Harris, gynecologist from Corona, California. Whitney Hartford, social media influencer from Miami, Florida. Genesis Haycrick, workflow coach from Sarasota, Florida. Brianna Johnson, financial coach from Chicago, Illinois. Sylvia Camacho, financial coach from La Habra, California. Let's get ready to be empowered, and here's your Thrive Tribe. Thriving Women Talk is powered by the Trendsetters Mentor Group, an exclusive membership for mentorship on Facebook.
Welcome, viewers from across the globe to Thriving Women Talk. My name is Gina Marie Casano, and I am streaming live from Bayville, New York, with the Thrive Tribe. Today, we want to open the show on the topic of mental health awareness and the importance of communication and seeking professional help. A few weeks ago, Thriving Women Network streamed an entire show on teen suicide. And here we are today discussing this topic of suicide again, as once again it's in the news. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, confided to a very real and methodical thoughts of suicide during an awakening interview with Oprah Winfrey this past Sunday. She said that she had been the victim of a character assassination and that the pressure drove her to the point of not wanting to be alive any longer. And emotional Meghan said, look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially because I know how much loss he has already suffered. But I knew that if I didn't say it, then I would do it. I just didn't want to be alive anymore. The Thrive Tribe wants to remind our viewers to check in on your family and friends, because it does not matter if you are a duchess, if you're wealthy, if you're famous, if you're poor, if you're Black or if you're white, it does not matter. Life happens, and we all need to take a time out and to focus on what really matters. And so I want to share with you the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That is 1-800, this is in the US, 1-800-273-8255. And what I'd like to do is hear from co-hosts Sabrina and Noel to please share your thoughts briefly on this topic.
Hi, Gina. Thank you so much for opening up with those remarks on Meghan. I actually saw that interview and I was shocked and blown away on that level that she was dealing with that, because oftentimes you just think that maybe people in a certain level or, certain economic status, that they don't deal with that. But those are real world issues. And the fact that she was contemplating suicide, that just blew me away. And then her reasons behind, her feelings, this loneliness and isolation. Noelle, you watched it, right?
I did watch it. Yeah, Sabrina, I did get a chance to watch it as well. And, the fact that she was able to finally speak out is what amazes me. And the fact that she was so open and transparent about it, and how concerning it was how they were treating her unborn child still. I mean, if you haven't gotten a chance to watch that, please reach out. I saw it on YouTube. I saw, little blurbs of it. And it was amazing how in this day and age, they were still concerned about a child's color of skin.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, all this pressure on her. No wonder. I mean, she's going through the pain and agony she was. Crazy.
Absolutely. Thank you. Go ahead.
For me, if I can make another comment on that, Gina, the fact that the concern was the color of the baby's skin. I mean, here you should be excited about your baby, a healthy baby coming into the world. And there was concern as, how dark he was going to be. and what he would be entitled to. And you can only imagine her anguish that she was going through as a mother. First of all, being proud to be a mom, but then worrying about the disparaging remarks and the world that she was bringing her son into. And it led to her wanting to not be here and to take her own life. And then feeling that, who could she even talk to about it? Imagine on her level. Who do you have that discussion with? That's amazing. We need to know that there's people there for us, right, Noelle?
Exactly. And the fact that they were going to take away security from her own son, regardless of, if he has a title or not, just being born into the family he's being born into, that child needs protection. And the fact that they're going to take that protection away from him, it's a scary thought.
They were getting death threats. They were getting death threats, and their security was removed. And that was really, I think the interview was a pivotal moment for the monarchy. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for sharing. Today, we have an enlightening and empowering show for our viewers. Did you know that Women's History Month is observed during March to coincide with International Women's Day on March 8th? Yay! Women's History Month traces its beginnings back to the first International Women's Day in 1911. State departments of education began to encourage celebrations of Women's History Month to promote equality among the sexes in the classroom. Back in February of 1980, the president issued a presidential proclamation declaring the week of March 8th as National Women's History Week because too often women were unsung and their contributions were going unnoticed. And so the Thrive Tribe has decided to honor each week in March women that have dedicated their lives to empowering others from the past and from the present. And last week we honored author Hasina Patel, founder of Leave No Girl Behind, South Africa. And I'd like to hear from Stacey on the women selected for this week.
Absolutely. What an honor to be able to spotlight. We have Susan B. Anthony, an American social reformer and women's rights activist who played a pivotal role in the women's suffrage movement. She was born into a Quaker family committed to social equality, and she collected anti-slavery petitions at the age of 17. I mean, this is so amazing. So many things. In 1856, she became the New York state agent for the American Anti-Slavery Society. And in 1851, she met Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who became her lifelong friend and co-worker in social reform activists. Really for the primary reason of women's rights. And in 1852, they founded the New York Women's State Temperance Society after Anthony. And I mean, it just goes on. So she in 1852, or excuse me, in 1863, they founded the Women's Loyal National League, which conducted the largest petition drive in the United States. And up until that time, collecting nearly, get this, 400,000 signatures in support of the abolition of slavery, which is huge, especially if you're looking at that time to get 400,000 signatures. And in 1866, they initiated the American Equal Rights Association, which campaigned for equal rights for both women and African Americans. And in 1868, they began publishing a women's rights newspaper called The Revolution. And then in 1869, they founded the National Women's Suffrage Association as part of a split in the women's movement. And then in 1890, the split was formally healed when their organization merged with the rival American Women's Suffrage Association to form the National American Women's the National American Women's Suffrage Association, with Anthony as its key force. And Anthony traveled extensively in the support of women's suffrage, giving as many as 75 to 100 speeches per year. When I found that out, I'm like, wow, that is amazing. And working on many state campaigns. And she worked internationally for women's rights, playing a key role in creating the International Council of Women, which is still active. And she's helped to bring about the World's Congress of Representatives, women at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893. And that's when she first began campaigning for women's rights. And she was ridiculed along the way and accused of trying to destroy the institution of marriage. The public perception of her really changed radically during her lifetime, however, and her 80th birthday was celebrated in the White House at the invitation of President William McKinley. And she became the first female citizen to be depicted on the U.S. coinage when her portrait appeared on the 1979 dollar coin. And I wish I had brought one here today because I have a couple of them. And in honor of this legacy and her lifetime commitment to women's rights and equality, we want to share an inspiring poem and encourage our viewers to share this story with others. So I think there's going to be a poem. My dog's excited about this too. I don't know if you can hear her.
Let's see that.
Gender is a pre-written book, and the plot is boring. Daughter, girlfriend, mother, wife, rip out the pages, staple them to your back, and start soaring. Pretty, quiet, weak. They will try to describe you with such things, but you will use their stereotypes and turn them into your wings. When you choose to challenge, gender is a pre-written book, but not all the girls' stories end the same way. 33,000 girls are forced to become child brides every day. 132 million girls are not in school, and their futures are balloons that they watch drift away. But you are the full stop to the story. You are the new sentence that takes it on a different road. When you speak up, you open your palms and you share the load. When you choose to challenge, gender is a pre-written book, but not all of the characters are included, like the First Nations women who stand as still as statues, always walked past but never acknowledged or seen, or migrant women whose culture stands like a skyscraper, and they're forced to burn down the parts of themselves society doesn't deem convenient, or refugee women who are treated with brutality when we should have been lenient. And you are there as the story unfolds and you are faced with a choice. So choose to challenge. Gender is a pre-written book, and this is your chance to add your own chapter, to call out racism and sexism and use courage to rub it out, to stand where the rest of the world has chosen to sit, to call it out at home, at work, at school, bit by bit. To scream where the world has chosen to whisper, not just for your daughter, your mother, or your sister. Let us choose to challenge. Gender is a pre-written book, and if you're listening to this, then your actions are the pen. Your life is the paper. You are not the oppression of the past. I believe that you are so much greater, stronger, kinder. Choose to create history, not to be created by it. Choose to challenge.
Thriving Women Life Strategies is powered by Women Entrepreneurial Empowerment, commonly called WEE. The organization's mission is empowering women entrepreneurs through a platform of visibility, education, and strategic growth and development within the networking arena. Their doors are open to women of all ages, millennials, new startups, small business, and those needing a boost. If you are committed to excellence and you want to know more about WEE platform, message founder Sabrina Protic on Facebook or email her at www.agelesstechniques.com. Back to Thriving Women Talk.
Welcome back to Thriving Women. March is National Credit Education Month, and last week we invited Eamon Nickerson, CEO of MBE Financial Group, to share his expertise on why we should monitor, manage, and increase our credit score. And so we invited him back to give us a few more tips. We just can't get enough. Welcome back to Thriving Women, Eamon. It's so nice to have you here again.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Last week, you spoke about keeping old accounts open and negotiating delinquencies. Can you share with us why we should aim for 30% credit utilization or less, check our credit report frequently, and have a financial plan?
Sure. So first question about the 30% utilization. That's a barometer that the credit bureaus use to look at your debt ratios and not being over leveraged. So just in a practical sense, if you were to lend someone money and you knew that they owed this person some money, that person some money, you would kind of be a little bit more hesitant to, extend them some credit as well, right? Versus an individual who they don't owe anyone anything. You'll be their only, borrower, right? And so just for that simple basic logic, that's how the credit bureaus look at borrowers to see how much they are leveraged and how many people they owe. So that threshold of 30% is always a good number to be underneath. If you can be underneath 30% of your utilization. So what that looks like, if you have a credit card for $1,000, you never want to have more than $300 exposed on that card at any given time. Another question that you just asked was, why do we want to, stay up on our credit report? Well, we want to make sure that it's accurate. We want to make sure, especially in this information age and the age of identity theft and things like that, you want to make sure that you have the most accurate credit report possible, because the minor details can actually affect you negatively. Something simple as having more on your that's reporting on your credit card than you actually owe. That can really cause an effect on your credit report. So the more and then you don't want to be surprised when you do need your credit. You want to be in a situation. I tell my clients, you want to know what they know before they know it, right? Mm-hmm. So before you go get some credit and you go to the car dealership, if you know you're going to go, check your credit. You can do a soft pull that doesn't have a hard inquiry on there. So where you stand. And maybe that situation tells you, oh, you know what? Not right now. Maybe I need to pay something down that you didn't know. Or you can go in there super confident, like, wait a minute, I got an 800 credit score. Okay. You all got to open up the floodgates to me. So you just want to know before your creditors know, so you're not surprised as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes perfect sense, right? This is all making sense. And then, we just don't think about it like this. So thank you so much for sharing. What about a financial plan? What is the importance of having a strategy and a plan around your finances?
Yeah, so my uncle used to tell us when we were kids, without a plan, you're planning to fail. So that is no different when it comes to your finances. With your finances, all those things affect your overall quality of living. When you don't have a plan, a financial plan, it's going to affect how you pay your bills, when you pay your bills. And then that's going to affect, if you're being late on your bills. And then ultimately, when it comes time to finance things, that's ultimately going to affect that as well. So just having a real basic budget in play. A lot of you wonderful women are in that industry of financial planning. So getting with, a professional to help you come out with a plan and a strategy, a 5-year, 10-year plan. That goes the distance, right? Just from a standpoint of like interest rates, being able to balance your interest rates. A financial plan is something as basic as maybe getting a 0% interest credit card every year. So if there's any balances that you've had the previous year, you can do a balance transfer, and now you're not paying any interest on that money, right? You can pay that off a lot sooner. That's a financial plan. So something very basic just like that will go a long way.
Wow, thank you, Eamon. So I know last week after listening to you, I had to confess, unfortunately, that I was just a peeker to Sabrina, and I didn't really ever check my my credit score. And I actually did check it, and I was like, phew, just the fact that you were saying, you don't know with people stealing identities what could possibly go on. So after listening to you last week, I confess I did check mine, and I was pleasantly surprised. So I know me and Sabrina had after hours conversation about it too, and she's telling me all the things that clicked into her mind as well. You did mention earlier between something about hard and soft inquiries. So can you tell us the difference, explain to us what that is and how they can affect your credit score?
Sure. So a hard inquiry is when you actually go to a financial institution to acquire credit, right? They'll pull your credit report, okay? And then that will show up on your credit report that someone has inquired about, you personally, you getting financing. A soft inquiry is when you pull your own credit by means of a credit monitoring service. So Credit Check Total, there's a gazillion of them out there. But Credit Check Total, Credit Karma, and so forth and so on. And that does not affect and go on your credit report as an inquiry. That's kind of like behind the scenes, and that's only for you that that. So this is what I was explaining before, that you want to do that and inquire about your credit on your own before you go out and get credit, because it will affect you. Now, how does it affect you negatively? Well, once again, just in layman's term, if you think about it, if you're going out and you're asking everyone on your block for a loan, right? Now your reputation is getting out there that, man, Eamon, he keeps asking everybody for money. Did he ask you for money yesterday? He asked me for some money today, right? And so that's kind of what it looks like on your credit, because you have all these inquiries. You've asked all these people, right, for credit, okay? And then incrementally, it will bring down your score if it's excessive, right? So a lot of times you go to a car dealership and they're notorious for this, of just running your credit through the mud and just having so many inquiries, and they're shopping you basically. And this is the point. If you took the time to look at your credit yourself before you went in there, okay, Noel, and then you realize like, hey, I have a 760 credit score. Well, you already know that you're qualified. And then most times you can come into the car dealership with your own financing, because you went to your bank and the bank said, hey, Eamon, you now have $45,000, go shopping. And you only needed to do that one time. So that's only one inquiry that you needed to do, because you're pre-approved and pre-qualified, as opposed to going in there and they're just running your credit, 1,000 times over.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. I was always scared I admittedly was one of those who was scared to check credit, because I'm like, oh, is it going to hurt me? Is it going to hurt me? But now listening to you, knowing soft inquiries are okay to do on your own, and it's beneficial. So that's good. I didn't know that. So I want to ask you also, can you share with our viewers how high credit scores can lead to lower interest rates on like cars and homes?
Absolutely. I like to just be my own testimonial. I just refinanced my house. I'm bragging a little bit. I got a 2.875% interest rate, right, over a 30-year mortgage, right? So that's fantastic. I'm really proud about that. And so that's what good credit will get you. It will get you lower interest rates. You will save more money, especially right now, because the interest rates are at an all-time low. So we need to be able to participate in what the environment is actually giving us. If they're giving 2% interest rates, 3% interest rates or lower, then we need to participate at that. Versus if you having that at 5%, you talking about a swing of maybe $200 to $300 or more, right? Of just having a different interest rate. So over the course of time, you're going to spend more money. Then once again, where could that money have gone? what other thing could you have paid off, right? You'll be able to qualify for more. Maybe that's the difference between a few thousand square feet based upon an interest rate, right? That's the difference between a Lexus and a Hyundai at the same time, right? So it just makes a huge difference when it comes to your interest rate, and having good credit. It's what you deserve at that point.
Yes, you're right. I mean, I like my Hyundai, but Lexus would be nice. So you always hear about different life coach or investment coach or financial coaches. Why do you think it's necessary to have a credit mentor per se?
That's a very good question, but it's like with anything. You go to the professionals for their professional help, right? An analogy is, we can stand out and be in our driveways and wash our own vehicles, but why do we go through a car wash, right? It's automated. This is what these people do. They're trained to look at hidden spots and so forth. So it's the same thing with with my industry and with my company. This is what we're trained to do. This is what we do on a day-to-day basis. I have a system that's proven over time that it works. And so now this just allows you more time for you to focus on your personal goals, knowing that in the background, you have this well-oiled machine that's taking care of all the things that are regarding your credit. So we can see the blind spots and then also educate you, along the way. So, it's always good to look at the professionals for professional help, in my opinion.
No, I agree 100%. So, Eamon, one last question. Where can our viewers, if they wanted to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can call our office. We're Monday through Friday, Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Phone number's area code 312-767-8998. That's 312-767-8998. And then also on social media at MBE Financial Group on Instagram and MBE Financial Group on Facebook as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eamon, for being here. Such an important and relevant topic, right? It's just so hard, and people are struggling. And so especially now, this is even more relevant. So greatly appreciate your expertise.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are going to shift a little bit and talk about our trending topic today, and that is Bitcoin. And so you may have heard of this cryptocurrency called Bitcoin, and you may have bought some, but nevertheless, Bitcoin, it's becoming a household name, and Thriving Women is all about enlightening and empowering our viewers for growth and success. And so today we have invited someone that can explain some of the basic consumer questions, like what is Bitcoin? How does Bitcoin work? What are the pros and cons of Bitcoin? And we have advocated, we invited Bitcoin advocate David Brend from St. Petersburg, Florida to the show to share his knowledge and perspective. And let's bring David on. Just come on in a minute. Welcome, David. Welcome to Thriving Women. Thank you for being here.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, great. So we want to hear about your perspective. So we love to start our interviews, but before we get into it, we love to start our interviews by getting to know our guests a little bit. And so can you tell us just briefly a little bit about yourself and describe your personality in 3 words and why?
Okay. Well, first off, I was born and raised in St. Pete, but I live now in Tampa. I'm 46 years old, married with 2 beautiful children. One, I can't really call him a child now. He just hit 18. So, he wouldn't like that. But, overall, I would say in 3 words about myself, that I'm a go-getter, that I keep myself well-educated and healthy. That's my 3 words I could say. Well-educated, healthy, and, go-getter. That's it.
And when you say go-getter, I just have to ask, why do you say go-getter? Tell me a little bit.
Older term, but the reality is I believe in entrepreneurship. And even prior, like I ran, and back in 2002, I started my own credit repair company. And I ran that for about 16 years. And I did that before it was popular. And so I just saw your guest you had, which he gave great advice. But, learning the ins and outs of new things and new technologies has always been my forte. So when I find something new, I never turn off to it. I always listen and educate.
Love it. So tell us a little bit, who introduced you to Bitcoin? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this gentleman was, he's about 63 now. I'm in good relations with him now. We talk a lot because it changed my life drastically. Back in 2016, I had really learned in 14, but didn't take action until 16, started really truly understanding. His name is Michael Alexander. And today he holds upwards of quite a few thousand Bitcoins at this time because of his early adoption back in 2014. Probably wouldn't want me to mention so much of that, but this is a true reality of things. He is that guy who knew about things, and I followed his lead into several different things as time went on. And now he lives in Bali and also in Jakarta, has 2 homes out that way.
Oh, nice. Bali. It's beautiful. I've never been. It's on my bucket list though. Mm-hmm. What was your first impression when you heard about it?
I told him, I deal with real money and not with fake money, and I appreciate it, but it doesn't sound interesting to me because if I can't hold or touch it, it doesn't make any sense. I was sadly mistaken.
We really appreciate you being here. We are going to pause this for a moment. We're going to take a sponsor break. And when we come back, we're going to unpack this topic of Bitcoin and how does it work with you as soon as we get back from the break. So thank you.
For more episodes of the Thriving Women Talk Show, visit the Mindshift Coaching Services YouTube channel and subscribe. Experience the shift with transformational coaching through Mindshift Coaching Services. Our expertise is in mindset, habit, and behavior change, providing total support and accountability. Together, we will transform your pain into power using transformational coaching method techniques to guide you towards creating a clear vision and purpose while aligning your actions with your goals. To learn more, visit mindshiftcoaching.com. Now, back to Thriving Women.
Bitcoin is a digital currency which aims to do away with all the problems we have paying for things online. You may think that the system we have is pretty good. But everything we buy today has to go through a bank or credit card company who take a cut of the transaction and who rely on our trust that they'll do everything right. After a while, those payments start to build up. And added to that is security. You have to trust your card company to keep your details safe. Many people have tried to work out how to have a payment system without that middleman. But then there's another problem. How do you prove that you've paid for something? Or even that you have that money at all, without someone vouching for you? It's so serious it has a name, the double spending problem. Then, in 2008, a solution was offered by an anonymous programmer going by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Nakamoto left a paper on a popular cryptography blog which proposed a system of currency that solved all of these fiddly problems. His proposal was that instead of a bank or credit card company recording every transaction in one central ledger, all of the users would record all of the transactions at the same time. As a result, any attempt to fool the community would be noticed and the payment rejected. No one user, government, or bank can force a fee on a payment or control its flow. The result is a cheaper, quicker, and easier way to spend money, even across national borders. So this is Bitcoin, and it's already starting to have an impact on people's lives. Within months of the proposal, it was being used to buy and sell goods, although not always from the most scrupulous of traders. But it's not all shady businesses. Some shopping sites take it. You can buy pints in London and even pay for your university tuition. As you might have heard, there are problems. While some are profiting from getting involved early, others are losing out from this volatile and young market. And people are founding companies to buy up lots of Bitcoins. But as it's designed to have a limited amount ever in circulation, that might cause problems down the road. There's so much uncertainty around Bitcoin. Some people genuinely think this is the future. Others are terrified it could destroy our economy. But many from both sides agree that if we could get Bitcoin to work, or something like it, if we can trust a digital currency to work without the middlemen, then the way the world economy functions could be transformed for the better.
We all know that Stephen Hawking has worked on some of the biggest questions about our cosmos, but what are those ideas?
Welcome back to Thriving Women Talk. Our trending topic is on Bitcoin. And that was a really informative little bit there. And I'm really excited because we have invited Bitcoin David Brend to the show to share his whole perspective, his viewpoint, the experience on the what, the how, and the why of the Bitcoin. And the Thrive Tribe is going to do our best to share some of our notes and really to help inspire our viewers to do their research, right? Because we want to empower you to do your research as well. So we're going to give you a little bit of some information here, but we want you to know that you should also do your own research, because I know we have as well. And one of the most popular search questions on the internet is, what is Bitcoin? So Bitcoin is a network payment system for digital money. It's similar to debit transactions. And Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer or person network powered by its users, right? So I'm really excited. David, can you explain a little bit more about this concept of digital money versus using the dollars, and what was the original purpose?
Absolutely. That's a pretty unique situation when you talk about Bitcoin and how it actually works and why it was created. Satoshi, you just watched the video. Satoshi Nakamoto came with a way of solving the problem of double spending by sending this peer-to-peer transaction that was so encrypted using secret keys and public keys to be able to use this grouping of numbers that go to solve an algorithmic, I'm going to get a little technical, algorithmic, equation to come up with the answer. And only the secret key or the public key would be able to determine that. That's the reality of it. But what is it really for? In down to earth understanding, what that means is if you wanted to send something to China and it would have the value of here in the United States, it would not change. But yet if you use the US dollar and you sent that to China, you're going to have an exchange rate, or you're going to have to choose a yen, or you're going to, this is like a worldwide currency. Really it is. Even though here in the United States, it's only considered a store value like gold or silver. So that is the real ability. Also speed. Speed is a very important factor because humans, we love speed. That's what we love. So we know Usain Bolt, he runs fast. We know Michael Phelps, he swims fast. We know all these individuals because they're quick, and Bitcoin is exactly that. It is very quick and it's fast. It doesn't have things stopping it like banks to get clarification. Those are what we call centralized, banking system that we know now versus decentralized peer-to-peer system, which is Bitcoin.
Right. No, that makes a little bit more sense. And you're correct. Like we want that instant gratification. We want things quick and fast, and not have to wait for it. Brianna, I know you have some things that you want to share. I'd love to hear kind of your questions that you have around this.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you, David. I feel like the way you're breaking it down makes it so easy to digest, because like you, when I first heard of Bitcoin, and when I was instructed that I needed to possibly invest, I'm like, that's something that I don't understand. Whatever, I put it on the back burner, but now I've currently started investing in it. And when we got on the call, I just checked my account and it grew because Bitcoin is definitely on the horizon. So I guess like the controversial question is, basically who created Bitcoin, right? So we understand that if you Google the question, it states that Bitcoin's first implementation of a concept was called cryptocurrency, which was first described in 1998 by Wee Day, I believe his name is. The first Bitcoin specification and proof of concept was published in 2009 in a cryptography mailing list by Satoshi Nakamoto. So Satoshi, left the project in late 2010 without revealing much about himself. So it was mentioned that the original idea of Bitcoin was a solution to the problem. So, David, can you share what that problem was that he was solving, and briefly what it is? What is the term white paper?
Okay, well, first off, a little bit of what I kind of said in the beginning was the double spending problem. And that little short video kind of explained it. And what does that mean, double spending? So if I was to send you, Brianna, some Bitcoin, it's going to come across and you're going to see dollar value and a Bitcoin value. That's usually how it shows up on your wallet. But there's a series of numbers and code that actually goes through before it hits your wallet. It goes to these miners that are doing proof of work, and they verify that I have the right and my account has enough money to send to you. And then that verification proves that your code is the one I'm sending it to based on my secret code and my public code. So that transaction happens to you, but it's open ledger, so anybody can see that. So what's the difference from me just, or you just copying that code and resending? So if I sent you $100, it'd be 100, 200, 300. You could keep going in increments up. Well, what makes it different, what makes it so that that cannot happen, is what Satoshi Nakamoto solved. And that is simply that equation, the algorithmic mathematical equation that is called cryptography, that when that's done, it only comes out with an answer that would be to the billionth power. So in other words, there's no way in the world that could be duplicated. And if somebody did duplicate it, they'd have to go back to 2009, January 2nd, and they would have to continue to keep putting on every single computer and everyone's cell phone that might have had that, or anyone's laptop that would have that, or any kind of device that had blockchain. They'd have to replicate that, which is absolutely impossible. That's why today, the biggest hackers in the world have tried to hack blockchain. It's impossible. That's why it's been adopted by banks in so many other forms. And white paper is basically, it's like the DNA. I call it the DNA of a coin, but it's a document that shows, the trustless peer-to-peer transactions, basically how it's performed, but it basically gives you the writing of that coin. Every coin has a white paper that's a true decentralized coin, but you got to understand it's like the DNA of that coin. That would be the way I describe it.
Oh, wow. You're a genius. Well, thank you so much for answering my question. So I know, Whitney, I know you want to chime in. Let's get some more about this Bitcoin. I'm infatuated.
Yes, David, that was so insightful, and thank you so much for sharing. This is where it gets complicated when you ask how Bitcoin works. Google states from a user perspective, Bitcoin is nothing more than a mobile app or computer program that provides its user a personal Bitcoin wallet that allows a user to send and receive Bitcoin's currency, similar to a debit or checking account, which the bank verifies for sending the money. David, how do you purchase Bitcoins to put in your wallet? And who verifies if you have enough Bitcoins to complete the transaction? Now, I remember you talking about miners, so I think you might go back to that, but please explain to us.
Absolutely. Well, first off, you have to create an account and you have to create a wallet. So first thing I would do is, if you're in the US, Coinbase is the most widely known, probably the one that you might have been checking. If you're looking at Bitcoin or you purchased any cryptocurrency, you create an account and you have to do what's called Know Your Customer. We call it KYC. Know Your Customer means you put in your name, your information, where you're from, and then you link it to your bank account so that you can show the transaction coming there and making the purchase. So it is very much so a matter of, on the currency side or exchange side, a public matter. Now, when it becomes private matter is if I was buying it from you individually and handing you cash for that, or a check or something that was, undescribed what it was, and I received Bitcoin for that. That's a private transaction versus a public buying off exchange. Like Elon Musk just bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. He contacted the SEC to do that. I've never in my history of understanding Bitcoin ever heard someone contacting the SEC to do something like that. So it shows that he wanted it to be very public. He's a public individual, and he used the company's money to do that. So this is why, you know, he had to do that in that case. But you also mentioned, you know, how do we store the product and stuff like that in a wallet? I use several wallets. There's Blockchain Wallet, Exodus Wallet. Of course, Coinbase has its own internal wallet, but those are what the wallets you can store cryptocurrencies in, on those wallets.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing with our viewers how they could get a wallet and maybe get some Bitcoin. I know Sylvia had something she wanted to share and questions to ask, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Sylvia.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, David, for being with us this morning on the show. I heard that there's some advantages of using Bitcoin. They are like payment freedom. It is possible to send and receive Bitcoins anywhere in the world at any time. So that's amazing. No bank holidays, no borders, no bureaucracy. Bitcoins allow us, the users, to be in full control of their money. David, can you share your experience in using Bitcoin, or do you use it as an investment?
Well, you're absolutely right, Sylvia, and thank you for having me, first off. And you're absolutely right. Bitcoin is a very private type product, and you can do all kinds of transactions with it, and that's what it's meant for. And I use it like I have right here. I got to do this. Might be a question. I have a credit card. It's a Visa. If you see in there, it's a Visa card, and this is by BitPay. And BitPay allows me to use Bitcoin or things like that for gas, food, things like, you know, normal transactions you would make. So I can do that. I also have a Trezor, which is what you would store. It's a little device you would store your cryptocurrencies on this device, and that's a way you could keep it. We call it in cold storage. So you can keep cryptocurrencies in what we call cold storage, but it is unique to be able to, you know, use it for transaction or investment purposes. Right now, you see a lot of people, because of Bitcoin's popularity, they're getting involved in investments. And when you hold Bitcoin or you give transactions, you'll see it go up.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting topic. I'm debating, I'm getting it or not, but thank you. You give us an excellent points this morning for us and for the audience.
You're welcome.
Wow. Thank you. So I heard about another option is that you can choose your own fees, and that there's no fee to receive Bitcoins, and that many wallets that they let you control how large a fee to pay when you're spending. So, you know, it says that higher fees can encourage faster confirmation of your transaction. So fees are kind of related to the amount transferred. And so it's possible to send 100,000 Bitcoins for the same fee it costs to send 1 Bitcoin. So, David, why would you want to pay more fees? And can you explain this option a little bit better for me?
Well, this question that you're asking, Noel, kind of goes back to a little bit of what Whitney was asking about the miners. The miners, when they confirm transactions, you can think about it like a highway, right? And that would be the blockchain. And the Bitcoins could be like little cars driving down that highway. And every time that the car got onto the highway and off the highway, they have to go through a toll. And that toll would charge them a fee, a very, very minute fee. But the car could be as big as it wants to be. So you can put as many Bitcoins or small amounts of Bitcoins going as a small car or a very large car through those tolls. So as of right now, that's kind of how it operates. And what's really unique is I loved it traveling all over the world like I did last couple of years back before 2020. When I would travel, you know, you're limited to having $10,000 in cash, but yet I could carry hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in cryptocurrency right on my cell phone. So your cell phone becomes a very powerful tool to do business. And that's like unlike anything I've ever experienced.
David, you are
Wow,
like
great analogy.
dropping
Thank you.
like yes. You are just like dropping it like it's hot with this information here. This is what we all need to hear. And we actually did a little bit more research, and we found out there are some other benefits in terms of security and control with Bitcoin transactions, because they're what's called secure, irreversible, and they do not contain, I think, as you mentioned earlier, the sensitive personal customer information. Bitcoin users are in full control of their transactions. It's impossible for merchants to force unwanted or unnoticed charges, as can happen with other forms of payments. And anybody who's had a credit card, we know that that can happen. Bitcoin payments can be made without personal information tied to the transaction. This offers strong protection against identity theft, I think, as that was mentioned a little bit earlier. So, David, if someone wants to use Bitcoin wallet to do business, how do they transact without personal information?
That's a very strong question, and there's a lot of politics behind that, in the sense that there's an advocates that are trying to fight for privacy, and then there's those that are in the public world that are fighting for it to be wide open and to get the KYC on everything. But if you were able to get wallets a couple years back, you could just use an email address, and you didn't even have to put your name on it, just an email address, and then verify that your email would link to that account, and that was it. And then you'd have a wallet, and then you could buy Bitcoin from a friend, and you could buy large amounts of it, out there in the market, because what it is decentralized money. Once it's released from the exchange, it can go be sent anywhere without any kind of documentation signed or whatnot. So that is the unique thing about it. And that's what the privacy individuals who want to keep things private say, hey, this is the first time we have real private money, and they want to keep it private. But a lot of the exchange are being forced by regulation and things like that to now change those wallets. So when you get a blockchain wallet now, if they know you're coming from the United States, they may not allow you to have a blockchain wallet. So older accounts, like I have older accounts that are from there, so they can't change it because you got in early. You were grandfathered in. So that is, when you talk about private transactions, there's still ways to do it. Exodus is a great wallet for that. And blockchain, if you can get an account from them, is a great wallet. Mycelium as well is a great wallet. There's a couple good wallets. You just ask out there, decentralized wallets. But when you go to an exchange, be prepared to give information. So if you know someone has Bitcoin and you want to buy Bitcoin without being on the register, then you want to buy from a friend. That's how I would suggest.
Mm-hmm. Know who you're doing business with, right?
Right. That's right.
Gotta know. Hey, it's people do business with people they like, know, and trust. So when we're going to take a sponsor break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with David Brand on the disadvantages of Bitcoin.
Thriving Women is sponsored by the Trendsetter Mentor Group, an exclusive membership for mentorship. TMG is an exclusive Facebook mentoring membership for thriving entrepreneurs with a culture of caring and sharing. TMG's mission is mentoring, inspiring, and empowering. And if you're a thriving entrepreneur and inspired to surround yourself with like-minded peak performers, join TMG's exclusive membership group on Facebook by sending a members request to the Trendsetter Mentor Group. We are your membership for mentorship. Back to Thriving Women Talk.
You may have heard of Bitcoin by now, and the hype it had over the last few weeks, reaching all-time highs, then boom, dropping over $1,000 within minutes, and a few days later, hitting a new all-time high. 7 years ago, 10,000 Bitcoins were used to buy 2 pizzas. Now, one is worth over $10,000. But what is Bitcoin really? Basically, it's a new form of currency known as cryptocurrency, or crypto for short. It's not like everyday paper money that we're used to, but a form of digital currency invented by a mysterious person known as Satoshi Nakamoto. The goal was to create a peer-to-peer system for online payments. P2P means that it's decentralized and works independent of any financial institution. Think of it like this. When you go into a coffee shop to buy a latte with your bank card, you don't actually give any money to the cafe owner. The bank does. With digital currency, there's no banks, no entities, or governments that control it, eliminating the need for a middleman. So where does Bitcoin come from? Well, it's mined. Not with a traditional pickaxe, but with computing complex mathematical equations. Once the equations are solved, new Bitcoins are generated, or mined. The term mining is commonly used because, like our mineral resources, there's a limited number of Bitcoins out there. In the case of Bitcoin, that number is 21 million, period. But there's more. Miners don't only generate new Bitcoins. They use their computers to verify transactions and prevent fraud 24 hours a day. This is done by collecting all transactions made during a set period into a list, called the block. It's the miner's job to confirm those transactions and write them into a general ledger, which kind of resembles a huge, giant, universally accessible spreadsheet. So, instead of one person controlling everything, there are thousands of computers around the world connected to a network which all come to an agreement on which transactions are valid. But how does it do all this? By using something called blockchain. If Bitcoin is email, then blockchain is the internet. It's a whole ecosystem that we'll cover in another video. Another thing to mention, mining Bitcoin is costly. There's the high cost of electricity and the hardware components wearing out. An individual mining Bitcoin would find it really difficult to make any money that way. That's why there are Bitcoin farms around the world, mining, processing, and verifying transactions. People can invest in them and get a small percentage of the returns. Alternatively, Bitcoin can be traded on many exchanges. An exchange is a marketplace where you may buy or sell your crypto in exchange for regular currencies. There are many exchanges that any person can use. Coinbase, Bittrex, and Kraken are some of the most popular. Do you think Bitcoin is going to revolutionize how we use and think about money? Or is it just hype?
Welcome back to Thriving Women Talk. Our trending topic is on Bitcoin. This is exciting. We have unpacked some of the most common questions that people ask over the internet. We've discussed some of the advantages, so now we're going to have a conversation with David Brand on the disadvantages of Bitcoin and why we need to do your homework. So, first of all, degree of acceptance. Many people are still unaware of Bitcoin. Believe it or not, as much as we hear about it, there are a lot of people that still don't even know about it, don't get it, or just are uninformed. Every day, more businesses are accepting Bitcoin transactions because they want to take advantage of doing so. But the list in comparison still remains small and needs to grow in order to benefit from this network. David, can you explain why the popularity of Bitcoin is growing worldwide with businesses?
Very easy. Imagine if you have a company and you take in forms of payment like credit cards and checks and cash. And then when you look at the end of the month, you get what's called a chargeback from these credit cards. You know, you lose some of those payments because people have returned items or they have some way of reversing that transaction. With Bitcoin using the blockchain technology, there's no way of reversing that transaction. So the sale is final. So it's a final sale. So what you made that month is what you made in Bitcoin. And the other attractive feature is it's like being involved in credit cards before they became popular. So why wouldn't somebody, knowing where credit cards are today, why wouldn't someone want to be on the ground floor, the very bottom introduction of that technology as it got swept across the whole world? Sabrina, you may have froze there. So I'll go ahead and talk about a couple of things about Bitcoin, and Brianna's in. Okay. What up, Brianna?
So we had a blooper there, but it's okay because, you know, I have some questions for you. So ongoing development, Bitcoin software is still in its beta mode with many incomplete features in active development. So new tools, features, and services are being developed to make Bitcoin more secure and accessible to the masses. So some of these are still not ready for everyone. Most Bitcoin businesses are new and still offer no insurance at all. And that's what people want. They want a sense of, a surety. So in general, Bitcoin is still in the process of maturing. So David, what are your final thoughts about what advice do you have for our viewers if they want to learn more about Bitcoin?
Well, first off, Bitcoin is an amazing product, and I think everyone should have it. But you're right. There's things about the technology that once it goes up really high, people are buying it so quickly that it slows down the blockchain, so transactions can slow down. So that is a negative. The other thing that you want to look at with Bitcoin is it's not the only real cryptocurrency decentralized out there. Last year, Ethereum did 650%. It actually beat the rise of Bitcoin. So if I was looking at it as not just transactional side, but investment side, I'd be getting Ethereum and Bitcoin. Those two cryptocurrencies are the number one and the number two in the world. So in fact, probably more Ethereum at this point in time than I would be Bitcoin, because I think this year it'll outbeat Bitcoin as well. Even though Bitcoin is king, it'll never be taken down. I don't believe that as well. But I get involved with a company called Quilium. If a person is looking to invest their cryptocurrencies, that is a company that's like a public company that does secure investments for staking. In other words, when you put your Ethereum there, it'll give you rewards, on a daily basis. So you can actually know your Ethereum is working for you, like they talk about getting rewards as you would for an annuity or like you would for any kind of other traditional investment. So you want to be careful what's out there, because there's companies that are not transparent. Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the real decentralized, you can see transparency. And if you do not see transparency, beware. So if they tell you you're going to earn a certain percent or you're going to do this for magic money machine producing, that is a scam. Make sure that whatever you deal with, there's transparency and that you're dealing with the top coins that are out there in the market. So that would be my advice. And obviously get involved, get yourself a Bitcoin wallet or a crypto wallet and buy yourself some cryptocurrencies. Get the top 2 or 3 coins. And if you want to hold half of them and invest half of them, that would be my strategy, because whatever you hold it. Because look at the last 5 or 10 years. What do you think happened in the last 5 or 10? What do you think is going to happen in the next 5 or 10?
Right. Yeah.
That would be my advice.
Wow. David, thank you so much. I'm kind of still stuck on, I'm a consumer. I love to shop. I'm a little stuck on the fact if I go buy shoes with my Bitcoin, I can't return them like that. So I'm just saying, being a woman, all sales final doesn't work with me. But listen, we want to put a little disclaimer out there. And David Brin, we want to thank you so much. Actually, thank you for giving us this in-depth look at Bitcoin. But we must state that the Thriving Women Network does not encourage, promote, or advocate investing in Bitcoin or any other type of currency. We recommend that all of our viewers become more educated on the advantages and disadvantages and seek professional advice before investing your money. David, how can you be reached if anyone has additional questions?
Yeah, if anybody wants to reach me, they can always reach me at davidbrend@yahoo.com. That's the easiest way to get emails, always the best. Of course, if they went to, I think davidbrend.com, I have contact information as well there. So either way, they can reach me through that way. And I appreciate being on. And like you said, that's great words. I'm not giving legal advice or financial advice or tax advice, but we're just sharing what is truly knowledge and empowering those people by getting that knowledge. And then they can make their right choices. So very good, Sabrina. Well said. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure. I've known David for years, so he's a trusted source. Thank you so much. Let's hear from Sylvia Camacho as she wraps this whole Bitcoin discussion up, wrap our show up, a little credit stuff. Sylvia Camacho, come on in.
Thank you, Sabrina. Well, Muchas gracias por sintonizar la segunda temporada Hablando con Mujeres Prósperas. Mi nombre es Sylvia Camacho y estamos en vivo con la tribu que triunfa. Nuestra misión cada semana es conversar con nuestras anfitrionas e invitados en temas candentes, alentar a nuestra audiencia. Este mes fue el mes de la mujer. Lo acabamos de celebrar el día 8, que fue ayer. Oh my goodness, algo impresionante. Le dedico les mando un grande abrazo a todas ustedes, mujeres hermosas, emprendedoras, que sin nosotros no sé qué el mundo pasaría. El día de hoy abrimos el tema, tomemos conciencia sobre la salud mental. Unas semanas atrás, hablando con mujeres prósperas, hablamos sobre el suicidio entre jóvenes. ¿Y qué creen? Una vez más, el tema del suicidio está en las noticias. El domingo pasado, Meghan Duchess de Sus estaba contemplando suicidio. ¿Y qué viene esto? Porque todo con lo que está pasando con el COVID, encerramientos, tenemos pensamientos suicidas. Tomemos un momento y contactemos a uno de nuestros familiares, amigos, para saber cómo están. No está de más compartir el número de teléfono de la Prevención Nacional de Suicidio. Si lo quieren anotar, es el 1-800-273-8255. Como les dije anteriormente, el día de ayer, marzo 8, fue Día Internacional de la Mujer y honramos a Haseen Patel, fundadora de No Leave Grow Behind en South Africa. Marzo también es el tema candente de tomar conciencia y educación del puntuaje de nuestro crédito. Nuestro invitado, Iman, experto, nos explica la importancia de cómo monitorear nuestro crédito día a día, no solamente cuando uno vaya a comprar un auto o comprar una casa, no. Lo tenemos que verificar diariamente. Nuestro tema candente del día de hoy fue Bitcoin y nuestro invitado David Brand nos explica cómo Bitcoin, qué es Bitcoin, perdón, cuáles son sus ventajas y desventajas. Bitcoin se usa usando nuestro teléfono. Tienes que tener internet para poderlo usar. Una de las ventajas es que nos evitamos fees del banco, es accesible, se puede pero también tiene sus desventajas. No se puede usar en varios establecimientos, unos porque no tienen internet, pero bueno, es algo que estamos aprendiendo todos en este tiempo. Nosotros, mujeres prósperas, no endorsamos a Bitcoin, solamente los educamos para que hagan busquen maneras de aprender con nosotras también acerca de esto. Y nuevamente les doy las gracias por sintonizar Hablando con Mujeres Prósperas. Regreso contigo, Sabrina.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. One day I'm going to understand every word you said.
Already.
But we want to thank you so much. We had a very empowering show today. We want to bring our Thrive Tribe back in so we can give due honor. We want to thank our special guest, Eamon Nickerson. He spoke on credit. David Brin spoke on Bitcoin. We want to thank our Thrive Tribe ladies here. That's going to be Noelle Ramos, Stacy Peasall, Gina Casano. We didn't have Genesis Creek with us today. She'll be back next week. Sylvia Camacho and Whitney Harford and Brianna Johnson. Special thank you to our Thriving Tribe Network producer, Daryl A. Johnson, who does a creative show every week. And also, we couldn't do it without our engineer, Alan Chafin, of CEO of SIBN Network. Next week, we're going to have tomorrow is our sister show, Uncomfortable Conversation. And we're going to have a topic on sports and mental health. But before we let you go, we want to bring Whitney Hartford on to tell us about what always follows our Thriving Women Talk Network. What's going on, Whitney?
We have our post-show conversations on Clubhouse, so make sure you guys pop on in.
All right. So we'll see you in a few minutes on Clubhouse. Thank you for joining us every week. We've enjoyed having you sit in. Thank you, David, again, and Ammon for working with us. We'll see you next week. Bye.